and people need that in their lives, and you don't get that when you hear like, boop, boop, let's go to the club. Boop, doop.
Mate, that's an old one. I get it from that. That sounded a bit like 50 Cent. This is where you insert the song in the club.
What song is that, Josh? In the Club by 50 Cent. That's a banger. That was a bad.
So that's not going to be on your forthcoming covers album, I can imagine.
What?
No?
Maybe.
We don't rule anything out in this band.
Hi, I'm Ella Kemp, you're watching NME, and today we are here with Robert and Eli of Inhaler for the latest in NME's In Conversation series. Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing?
Good, really good.
Good. Just had a coffee and we're ready to go. Thanks for having us.
We are here to talk about many, many things. The first of which starts with It Won't Always Be Like This, which is a number of things. It is a song you wrote when you were 16. It is a single you have. It is the name of your forthcoming album. And it is also the song that I listened to on the day that Glastonbury got cancelled in March 2020. I'm sorry to remind you of that.
I'm sorry we did that to you.
That was going to be our first Glastonbury ever too.
Yeah. That was, I think once that happened, we've stopped trying to feel things after that. Just so many things are being cancelled. And
Yeah.
So sorry.
It's okay. It's all forgiven. It's in the past.
Yeah.
But so that song, I mean, it's come such a long way and is now the name of your new album. Can you tell me a bit about the journey of that song and how and why you think it's kind of endured all this time?
I think it's weird. Like, obviously the title meant something completely different than it did during lockdown. Like, we were like 16, 17. It used to be called 540 because that was, Rob's got a tattoo on his arm. Oh, yeah, that was the bass tab.
I didn't know what that was.
Yeah. And then, yeah, we were just kind of, I think it was just like about a number of things. The lyrics were like always changing, and then we finally got it to a place where it kind of meant something a bit broader, and it actually kind of took on this whole lockdown and the feeling of just kind of trying to be hopeful and get through it. It's just kind of 6 words to hang on to for us. And yeah, it just made perfect sense to be the album title. But it's crazy that it stuck around this long. Yeah.
Was it during the last year in lockdown that you had decided to call the album that?
Yeah, I think so. I think we had it was always like our probably number 2 for a long time before lockdown was even a thing. Just because we always liked that as a title. We thought it stood for something. Yeah. Well, we thought it stood for something small like a relationship, but obviously it can stand for a little bit more than that now. And then during lockdown, it was kind of just, I guess, a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think we were stumbling around looking for titles for a long time. I think that one just kind of hit us in the back of the head, and it was like,
yeah. And we also we open all our shows with it, and it's a big song for us and like our fans. Like, as in, we've been playing it for like a long time, and it's helped us build a fan base. So I think it kind of meant a lot for us to have it as the title track and to open the album as well.
And so you re-recorded it for the album, right? Well, why did you decide to kind of revisit
it? I think the original version was just a bit prepubescent, and we needed to update it. You know, because it has been with us for so long. We recorded it when we were 18, so I think it was just time to give it a bit of like a.
Yeah, I think we got to a stage as well where we thought that the live version was better than the recorded version, and we've all kind of gotten a lot better as musicians. And as writers, I mean, not a lot's changed with the new version, but even just small, like little nuances
that we figured out
live. We just kind of wanted to reintroduce, and also we wanted to kind of for it to fit the album sonically as well, and we think it does, which is, I guess, a job well done.
Yeah, well done.
Thank you very much.
So the album has quite an interesting mix of songs like It Won't Always Be Like This, which you've had around for quite a while, and songs that your fans really know, and some newer stuff that you recorded in the last year, right? Does it feel like kind of a product of two halves to you, the kind of the before and the lockdown, or is it just its own thing now?
Definitely. I see my whole life as pre-corona and after corona now.
Yeah, it's like BC turns into PC.
But definitely, like, I think we'd just come out of school and gone straight into being a band and like going on tour, and you get into a band so you don't really have to grow up, kind of thing. And I think when lockdown happened, it really just put things into perspective, and it was like, well, people forget those times were so scary. Nobody knew what was going to happen, if gigs were ever going to come back, if we were going to be in this for like 10 years. So felt like maybe the band was going to go. We didn't even get a chance to put out our first record. So it just really forced us to kind of grow up in a way and just like talk about broader things, and I think push ourselves musically as well. Like we definitely started writing a lot more mid-tempo stuff because I think we were just feeling that way. But yeah, definitely, like, as horrible as it was, I think it made the album 50% better just because we got to think of it as an album rather than a compilation of singles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All of the mid-tempo things you mentioned, do you think, I can imagine that was part of the way you're feeling lockdown, as you say, but can you see yourself moving more in that direction as a band? Or because it feels like the earlier songs, you've got a lot more of that nervous energy, which I can imagine is part of playing them live. And then you've got this more mellow, sound. Where do you go from there with those two extremes?
I don't know, just put them together, see what happens. It's usually what we do.
I guess we just went from being a live band to a studio band like everyone else in the world. And we honestly, we wrote music that we weren't all able to play, that we thought sounded amazing, and that might not necessarily have felt like it was played in the Halo show, but we hope it will feel like that. And it was good because it's pushed us down as musicians. I mean, we got practicing again recently, and we've all had to learn the parts properly, and like we can all play the songs.
That was the weird thing about doing it over lockdown, is we like couldn't play the songs together. We weren't allowed to be together, so we were writing these songs over Zoom, and like will Ryan be able to play that? Will Eli be able to sing that? Like, I don't know. And then when we finally got into the studio, it was kind of like, well, now we really have to like actually learn how to play these and see if they'll work live. But thankfully, I think now we've given it a good chance to be able to play them all, and we're back in the rehearsal room playing them, so it worked out, but it was a little scary for a while.
Yeah. Wait, so I read there was maybe 5 songs that you recorded that you wrote over lockdown. Which ones were those on the album?
Slide Out the Window.
Yeah, When It Breaks was the very first one. Slide Out the Window, Totally.
Who's Your Money On?
Who's Your Money On?
And then
Probably another one.
In My Sleep.
In My Sleep as well.
I had to ask Ryan for that.
Yeah, Ryan's much better for the track listing.
Yeah, which is funny because I think In My Sleep, it's not like mellow feeling. It's really, it's kind of almost like our homage to like Thin Lizzy. And I think for us, that song came about when we got into the studio after lockdown and finally started getting to play together. And we just felt like a real band again. And we got that kind of rush of just being together, and like we got all giggly and started playing this song and just practiced it for hours and hours. Actually, it was a day like this. It was swelteringly hot. And we just wanted to feel like it feels when you come off tour and we're going back to Dublin on the bus or something like that. And it just really felt like a coming home song. Yeah. It was a nice moment for the band to do that one.
All of these very upbeat tracks that you have when you've got that rush of adrenaline, so much of them you figured them out when playing them live and seeing how crowds react and everything. How are you feeling about that now? Because there's a few tracks on the album that your fans haven't heard yet. Are you nervous about that? Are you very aware of what fans are expecting and how you kind of work around their feedback?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that was the interesting thing, wasn't it? It was like, usually we like to play our songs that we're working on live, so you get people's visual reaction. If they turn around and go to the bar, or they, go to the toilet or something like that, you're like, well, you should make that a bit more exciting or something like that. We didn't get that. All you get is like, Instagram comments or the Spotify streams thing going. So it's not like you don't have that connection with the fans. So it was a bit like kind of taking a shot in the dark, I guess. And we just really kind of focused on what we wanted to make as artists rather than what maybe the fans would like.
Yeah, I think it was nice to have the time, I guess, away from the fans in a way, because it really was just about what us four wanted as a band. But then in saying that, it can also work against you, because we had all this time to work on the songs, and sometimes having too much time can be a bad thing as well. So we kind of had to learn how to juggle all these things.
Yeah,
definitely learned a lot from doing the first album.
Just
made a lot of mistakes, but I think that's just natural, isn't it? And
yeah,
we've been working on it for so long, like 4 years really. So it was like a scary moment to let that go.
Yeah.
But we're really proud of what we made.
I know we keep talking about lockdown, but I'm sorry, another one. Before it happened, you were having an amazing year. You played some dates, you had some songs out. Everyone was like, it was going to be your year. It was going to be your time. But it's fine. We're back with that.
Yeah.
But I'm wondering, with that time that you were forced to kind of sit with the songs that you had, to write new ones, did you feel like you could make more kind of long-term plans and because you had the time to sit, just think, this is what we want to do as a band, this is what we want to do. I know you said before you don't really want to kind of prescribe certain things, but did you make more of a long-term plan in that way, or are you still kind of going from day to day?
Definitely.
Yeah, I think for a long time we've always been a band for long-term plans. I think even with like our management, it's always been like, okay, but where are we going to be in 5 years? It's never really like the immediate things, because we always see it just kind of as like a building blocks process and just one block at a time. But I guess we've just been focusing so much on the live aspect of it, and it was going so well for us that we hadn't really had the same amount of focus on the music side. So now it's kind of flipped around, and I guess we wrote a load of songs recently for the second album and probably some of the third, and I guess that to us is important because we hadn't had that before.
It's just time to pause and think, and like Rob said, we didn't really do that before because we were so on the go all the time, and yeah, it did kind of. I think we're lucky the way I think a lot of bands put out their album like right in the middle of Corona, right as it started, and we were really lucky in the way that we could hold off and just focus on it and focus on the future and make sure that when things do get back to normal, we're hitting the ground with our feet, not our face.
You mentioned the second album and the third already. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but you're clearly very, very prolific, and there's nothing standing in your way anymore in terms of a reason logistically to hold things back. What do you make of artists who drop the second or third album unannounced? Could you do a Taylor Swift on us at some point in a few months' time and just say, there is another one, and a month later,
probably
there is another one?
Probably.
Maybe, but we need probably an extra couple of months to just maybe.
It's not ready yet.
If there was 15 months in the year, that'd be handy.
Yeah, I think definitely we'd like to get to a stage where we could just drop an album and not have to like promote it and stuff like that, because it just seems fun, and I think it's important to kind of have that spontaneity. But I don't know. We're just the album's not ready yet. So
we're trying to get it finished so that when touring really does come back, we can just go and not have to worry about it and have it in the back pocket. Right?
Play 8-hour shows every night.
Yeah.
That sort of thing.
I want to talk about the sound of the album a little bit more, because you've got a lot of different influences and styles. You've got the nervous energy, you've got the mellow stuff, but what you don't have is something that I read that Inhaler used to be, which was a metal band. Now, was this an option, like in the writing process? Are there any tracks that almost made the cut that didn't?
Not on this one.
Metal thing
Maybe
was a
next
long
one.
time ago.
There's stuff there. There's stuff there. It can happen for sure. There's some metal-esque
What's holding you back?
music bits. I guess
We're not cool enough.
my
yet.
hair. I've not got long enough hair.
You have to
have I?
get longer hair. Ryan's got there with his. We're trying to get there, but yeah, we were all super big Motorhead fans when we were kids, and Metallica and Nirvana, all that kind of stuff. The first song we ever played to a crowd was at our school. Josh wasn't in the band, but we did Smells Like Teen Spirit, and since that day we haven't listened to it since. We just butchered it.
I think that album
So
got knocked
sorry.
off one of my favourite albums because of that.
We still love it. We killed it. So I think that kind of scared us from doing metal. After that, we discovered the Stone Roses, and
Yeah.
that was when it all changed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I read you say at the time that when Inhaler was kind of first getting started, Stone Roses were like the goal. Nowadays, who have you got who's up there?
It's funny, like we say that we have a lot of influences, but I really don't. We're never in the studio trying to sound like somebody else. I mean, we really just have no rules, and I think there's a lot of bands that kind of go into being a band and they say like, we're going to sound like this, we're going to dress like this is what we're going to talk about, that kind of thing. I think with us, we just never got to that, and I think that's part of the fun of being an Inhaler, is that it's just very spontaneous, and we just try and serve the song and write the greatest song possible, and we don't really put that much thought into, how to do it. It's just kind of, we just try to have fun with it and see what comes out. So
yeah, it's more that our influences were important to us early on, and then since then we've just kind of just been writing our own music. I get asked what do we listen to at the moment? It's like, unfortunately, our own music.
Yeah,
It's so uncool to say, but it's like, we're working hard here.
Yeah.
We're trying to get stuff done. But yeah, it's a bit of a weird one, because then if you do listen to someone for ages, you end up writing a song and it just sounds too like too like New Order, too like whoever you listen to. So it's an interesting balance, I suppose.
I want to ask lyrically on the album as well, because there are some songs about love stories, about heartbreak, or that kind of thing. But then you also broaden it out quite a bit, and there's quite a few like self-aware lyrics about performing and that kind of thing. Is it also a case as like your sound where it doesn't feel like you're bound to anything, or is there anything you feel is kind of a bit off limits lyrically, or do you want to be more outspoken in the kind of things you're writing about?
Yeah, I think when the lyrics started, like in the early days when we were teenagers, they were just about the teenage stuff. You know, like you just write down a couple of lyrics about like the girl you fancied, or like, you know, like the house party you went to and stuff like that. We did kind of stay in that territory for a while, and then when lockdown happened, I mean, there was so much crazy stuff going on in the world that we just kind of turned to each other and was like, if we're ever going to write about the world, surely you're going to write about it now. It's so mad. And so it just kind of forced us to maybe take on broader subjects, but it's still quite an introspective, you know, record. And I think that mix between the greater world and all that, and also teenage miss, whatever you want to call it, is just like kind of interesting juxtaposition on the record. And I think that's what we wanted to make a record about, was just that weird area between being an adult and being a teenager, and trying to find yourself, getting lost and finding yourself again, and then getting lost again and going for a pint, and then wondering, will the world exist? And that kind of thing. It's so a bunch of nonsense, really.
It's all very tame.
Yeah.
You can't be tame in a time like this, though. That's the irony of it.
Yeah.
I think we were like, you can't really be playful with lyrics. I guess we always wrote our songs for like a sense of escapism and trying to like get away from all of it. And this year, you literally haven't been allowed. Like every single person, you know, you got to wear your mask, you got to look out for everyone, which is great, but it's really it's a different time. So I think the band changed because of that.
Yeah. In terms of the very practical circumstances, obviously you were traveling around all the time before, and then you were at home with your parents, or that kind of thing. In what way do you think that actually helped you as a band? Like, what were the good things about that?
At first, it was just like, oh my God, we're getting 2 weeks off. This is deadly.
We get a bit of a break.
Yeah.
Get some sleep back.
Yeah, get some sleep, some good food. And then obviously, like, here we are a year and a half into it. But I think definitely just being able to slow down, look after our health.
Appreciate what you've lost as well, I think, which was good. We all kind of realised it's like, that was pretty good. It's all gone now.
Yeah.
Then you get a bit sad, you go into like phase 2.
Phase 2 of lockdown.
Going through all
phase
5
3,
stages,
you get inspiration, which did come. I think we all kind of got a little bit inspired. We had a bit of fuel, I think, in the tank from being home so much.
It's just the only thing
to
we
go
could
in to
do.
do the album.
We had so much energy that we wanted to put into gigs that I think we just put into writing music. And in that way, I think it was good. But yeah, just a lot of time to slow down and be with your family and
be in your own head, which isn't the best sometimes. But.
I do. But now we're getting out of it. We're going back out into the world. You are going to go on tour again. Where is the first place? Well, where is the place that you're most looking forward to playing?
London.
We say anywhere. It's the next possible gig. We've been saying we do like
we'll
weddings,
do birthdays, weddings,
bar mitzvahs, a lot. Like, but I don't know when the first gig will be. But it's going to be great. We don't really care. We don't care where it's going to be.
Yeah, it could be in the North Pole for all we care.
Yeah, I mean, we've been
quite fun.
Yeah,
we've been looking forward to the first gig back for a while, and it's kind of just constantly changed. And it's not happened. So at this point, we're just kind of like, we don't know what it'll be, but we're excited for it nonetheless.
Yeah.
How optimistic are you about festival season broadly as a thing?
I mean, so optimistic from our point of view, but I mean, I'm just trying not to think about anything getting cancelled.
Yeah.
I think there's been a few cancellations already, and we're just kind of numb to that now. But yeah, we never really got to do a full festival season because our first festival run was kind of our first year touring, wasn't it?
Yeah.
And we did like Great Escape and all that kind of thing, and like Why Not Festival and stuff. But we were really meant to go at it, as you said, and do Glastonbury and stuff like that. So yeah, it's sad, but I think when it comes back, hopefully we'll just be a really good band.
Yeah, that's the
one
one
we
thing.
just have to keep up practicing and just waiting for it to come back.
We're doing everything we can do on our end, so we just have to hope that the government can do it on their end.
Yeah.
And that just things get better, but they will.
Yeah, for sure.
Cue the album.
Won't always be like this.
It's the gimmick that we've got.
Excellent. I mean, you've always had people who believe in you on every level, as much as you're very enthusiastic fans, as, you know, a lot of familiar faces as well. You've been on tour with Noel Gallagher, you've been on tour with Blossoms. I saw that Noel Gallagher once was singing your praises, and he called you a mix between Echo and the Bunnymen and U2. I don't know if you saw at that time. How do you feel about that?
Doesn't make any sense.
Go on, please.
No,
Baffled.
No, Noel took us. We did Heaton Park and Malahide in Dublin with him, and it was very, very gracious of him to take us to those gigs, and we played at like 4 o'clock to like 200 people.
Yeah, it was the most like anticlimactic thing of all time.
It was anticlimactic for us.
It's like the biggest stage I've ever seen. Like 5 times the size of any stage I've ever been on.
Yeah.
And we played to like 200 people, but it couldn't have been better for us because
Yeah.
I think we were not able to play for more than 20 people.
Yeah.
We shouldn't have been doing that gig.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was very nice to let us on. So actually, those words are really kind.
Yeah.
You're really breaking the whole illusion now. You're like, oh, Noel Gallagher took these guys on tour and saying these great things.
No, I know, but it's just not true, is it? We didn't go on tour with them at all. We just did 2 shows to like no one.
Yeah.
But it was
Nice
a great experience.
Yeah.
And he was dead cool. Like I remember
Yeah.
we got off the stage and he was standing side stage and literally just like this with sunglasses. That was it. I was just like,
So no kind of advice.
we don't really know.
any pep
Not really know.
talks?
Just like
Just
just,
a nod.
like a mutual like good job, lads. And we were just like, oh, thanks
Just
for having
nod.
us. And he was like, no problem, lads.
Yeah. And then we enjoyed his gig. It was fantastic.
Which was amazing. But then the whole place was full, obviously, for now. You got
the
to
headliner. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
What was it like with the guys from Blossoms? Did you get more than a nod?
Oh
or-
yeah, we were very close with the Blossoms lads. It's funny because we used to, when we were in school, we used to like sneak off in class and go to the computer rooms and just be like, oh, have you heard this band from Manchester, Blossoms? They're on like Radio 1 and they use guitars. We were like, what? the heck?
Guitars?
Yeah, guitars. Oh my
Think
god.
of the past, man.
Yeah, and then we used to like listen to their album loads. And we were like, it's deadly. And then when we got management, they were like, do you want to do a few gigs with the Blossoms lads? We were like, of course. And then we've just gotten really close to them since then. They took us to America, which was really, really great of them. We went to Mexico with them. Went to Corona Capital with them. Yeah. No, they've
That
given us
hasn't aged well.
Yeah, it hasn't. I wonder if they'll change the name of that festival now.
I don't know. They'd have to change the name of the beer.
Yeah.
There's going to be a lot of legal issues happening.
Yeah. Anyway, besides the Corona, we had a great time with Blossoms, and yeah, we just look up to them a lot.
I like the Big Brothers situation for us. I guess they kind of showed us the ropes as well, which is always nice.
I think they're just great songwriters, and like their work ethic is unbelievable, and you just have to take a page out of their book on that one.
Yeah.
You know.
Do you feel kind of closer to the likes of Blossoms and, you know, I will say it, Noel Gallagher and all of those sorts, rather than more bands who are emerging in the scene in Dublin? Because obviously there's so many people coming through at the moment, but sonically, do you feel closer to the, you know, I suppose the indie rock of Manchester and that kind of thing?
Yeah.
I think we always were. You know, like, not to say that we don't love the music that's coming out of Dublin right now, and I think it's such a diverse music scene. You've got like Fontaines and then us who sound like really different, Murder Capital, and like just lots of like hip hop and stuff like that is coming out as well, which is just amazing to see for such a small city. And I think we were always just attracted to, like you said, like the Stone Roses and Joy Division and stuff. So maybe that's where the kinship comes from, and we kind of respect them for that.
Yeah.
But I guess so. That kind of 80s synth thing is
I
where
think
we
that
kinda
was
started
like
out.
a big inspiration for the early songs for the band, and because the album is kind of like a split of old songs and then of the new kind of lockdown songs. A lot of it still has that feeling of the kind of like what you're saying, the synth kind of pop kind of, I guess
80s thing.
80s Roses kind of thing. But we definitely found ourselves like with the couple of last tunes, like some of the more mid-tempo stuff on the album felt a little bit more like, you know, Talking Headsy, kind of dancier, and we're like looking at pushing that the more we go, like on the next album.
So album 2's the disco album.
Yeah.
Not quite, but it's gonna have some elements of disco.
Disco, metal.
Yeah,
reggae.
we're gonna try and get them all in. All the genres we talked about today will be on the second.
Every single one.
It's
You're
in the one
starting with
song.
metal, please.
Yes. Okay.
Yeah. So your fans are waiting
That's
for.
all.
Sounds like a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're clearly waiting for it as well.
Yeah,
so.
clearly, yeah.
Fine.
I
We'll
can
do
make
that.
it happen.
But yeah, it's funny, like, because I think genres are slowly becoming a thing of the past, and people listen to music on Spotify and iTunes. It's not like you go to a record store and you look for, like, you know, your punk albums or your rock and roll albums. It's, you kind of find music that just connects with you, and I think it's starting to dawn on me that great songs don't get old, but maybe the style that they were in does. And it's like, I think that's what we're trying to replicate with our album. It's just to try and break down that barriers of genres and push ourselves. And yeah.
Because of that, I have to ask, is rock and roll as a thing dead?
I don't want to say yes or no, because I don't know.
we saw on the charts the other day. What was there? Oasis.
Oh yeah, Oasis is still in the charts. So
Yeah, because we were trying to find
what's
a
the story?
cover.
What's the story? Morning Glory
was on
Does
the
that
charts.
reassure you?
I mean, maybe it doesn't, maybe it
I
does.
think-
But the
I
one
think-
thing is that people are listening to it. So obviously people have a hunger for it. And I definitely think there are bands that are kind of like punching through the wall for bands like us. Fontaines is a great example. There's a band before them in Dublin called Girl Band. But then also like Sam Fender and Blossoms. There's so many people in the UK that we still find out about that have been doing it way before us.
I think that's why vinyls are people love doing vinyls, is because it's like, it's an analog experience. And I think when you hear a guitar versus like those like real sugary pop synth sounds that you hear on the radio, it's, you kind of get the jolts you through your system, and you kind of go, that's like, you can hear someone hitting a string. It's just like, I think people maybe want a bit of that physicality in their lives.
Especially with gigs coming back now, and you know, people are saying that it's going to be like, I don't know, like a massive party when stuff does come back. Let's hope that maybe people do appreciate live bands a little bit more than maybe they have been.
Do you think part of that is all of these live bands and a lot of the artists that you mentioned having that kind of confidence inherent to them? Like, you know, you can write about things that you feel insecure about, but having that real sense of, I deserve to be here, I'm really good at what I do. Because, you know, one of the lyrics on one of your songs is, I want to be the best at what I do. Do you think that confidence is crucial, I suppose, to kind of really make it through and make it on your own these days?
Yeah, I think like, it's definitely a weird time to be a guitar band, let alone to be alive. I'm trying to quote the song here, but it is a weird time to be a guitar band, just because, you know, I mean, even with us, like, our songs are kind of, some of them are like pop songs, but they're not really, because they've got guitars in them, and like, how many times do you hear guitars on the radio and stuff like that? So it's just a weird kind of territory, but I think you just have to believe in what you're doing. And if you believe in what you're doing and you keep the music in front of you, you can't go wrong. You just have, as Noel said, don't be afraid of ridicule.
Yeah, and you also don't want to be a listener and, you know, listen to a band or a musician that you like and see them not confident in their own music. You're not going to be confident in theirs. So it's important to, I guess,
We're trying to sell a product here.
to say something. You got to say something to your fans, you know?
Yeah. I think just to, you know, keep the music in front of you and the song, and that's what we're trying to do.
And we always say, like, to try and just, if someone just feels something from our record, then it's mission success. Like, even any emotion whatsoever, because we listen to charts these days, and it's fairly
Just don't
bleak.
feel anything, you know. And I think that's maybe why What's the Story, Morning Glory is still up there, is because it's like one of the most uplifting feeling records ever written, and people need that in their lives, and you don't get that when you hear like, boop, boop, let's go to the club.
Mate, that's an old one.
What was
I get it from that. That sounded a bit like 50 Cent. This is where you insert the song in the club.
What song is that, Josh? In the Club by 50 Cent. That's a banger. That was a bad.
What are you doing with that song?
Sorry.
What?
Yeah.
So that's not going to be on your forthcoming covers album, I can imagine.
What?
No?
Maybe.
We don't rule anything out in this band.
Josh has got
Okay.
some bars, so you never know.
You want people to feel things with this album, any emotion, but if you could pick just a small handful, what do you want people to feel when they listen to It Won't Always Be Like This?
Euphoric.
Bit of defiance, just because I think joy is like the antidote to this whole experience that we're having. You know, I think if you can stay uplifted and happy and just kind of enjoy living, then this corona thing will go a lot much faster, faster.
Escapism as well, because there's going to be people who are in this for a lot longer than maybe what us, like, you know, in South America and all over the world. It's the levels of like severity differ depending on where you are. So I guess it's important for us to remember that and to appreciate the fact that we're out of it.
Yeah.
As well.
Almost.
Not quite. Had our first pint last night, so that's something.
That's something. You're getting there.
Progress.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think we're just about running out of time. I have one more question for you. Inhaler has been a band for about the last 9 years, something, is that right?
Yeah, wow.
Where ideally will you be in the next 9?
Hopefully still a band. We always say that's our number one
Yeah.
goal, is to make it through. Another record, another couple of records.
Hopefully not in quarantine.
Please.
But yeah, I think just to be doing this and like making a decent living off it, and like going on tour, making records, doing interviews, it's a good life. We love it, and I think we're just grateful to be in this position that we can actually do it now again after lockdown. So yeah, just doing this.
Pretty good plan. Sounds good. Excellent. Inhaler, thank you so much for your time, and we'll see you at an actual non-socially distanced gig soon.
Let's hope so. Thank you very much.
Thank you.